Good evening, everyone. My name is Hoxhallari. I will present today my results of the project in the framework of the workshop in GIS course. I will discuss today the topics below. My study area, as you can see in the map, it's northeast Vermont. You can observe that it is mainly forested, but also populated by humans, which has affected the biodiversity and fragmented the habitats. Just like people, wildlife needs to move to meet their basic needs. Construction industry compromise the health of species, which can lead to increase the wildlife collision. Vermont's first wildlife action plan was completed in 2005 with the priority to identify the existing forest blocks and associated linkage that allow the movement of the species in response to climate change. This model was undertaken to address exactly the conservation strategy of the Wildlife Action Plan. With my research, I tried to give answer to the question, how does the special patterns of bobcat location data correspond to the special patterns of suitable habitat in Vermont? The main objective of this study is to determine a potential wildlife corridor for key species in northern Vermont to conserve bobcat population threatened by habitat fragmentation. To do so, I proposed a suitability model with three submodels: habitat, food, and security. The final objective is to locate the best habitat patches, prioritize which land to protect, and design a way how to connect them. The data was collected in the National Land Cover Dataset and USGS website with temporary resolution in July 2018. Most of the data has raster format. I followed 6 steps to develop the bobcat suitability model. The first step was the identification of the preferred criteria for the bobcat, transformation of the value within each criteria to a common scale, weight and combination of the criteria and submodels, localization of the best habitat patches, connection of the habitat patches with wildlife corridors, and in the end, the validation of the results. The model weighs the 3 criteria which are important to bobcat habitats: land use, elevation, and water. You can follow the flow chart of the model to observe how, for example, slope was derived from the elevation, or how, for example, the distance to stream was derived using the Euclidean distance tool. It is not possible to examine each wildlife species one by one, so a conservation design plan around an umbrella species was developed in this project. By focusing conservation in an umbrella species, other species that live in similar habitats will be also protected. For this area of study, the bobcat will be our umbrella species. 3 are the main needs bobcats respond to when making a decision: a good habitat, access to food, and security from humans. Each of these needs will be represented as submodel in our suitability model. The map shows the land use in northeast Vermont. The forested areas are the most preferred area from the bobcat, which are green, and the least preferred areas are like human populated areas and water, which are in red. To begin calculating the suitability surface, I ran a model to examine habitat, and I continued with the reclassification process. For each of the land type, I entered a specific value, and I reclassified the land use. The maps show the reclassified land use in North Vermont. In this step, I transform the slope proximity value using the suitability scale. The maps show the reclassified slope in the study area, and as you can examine the results, bobcat tends to prefer steep terrain. As in the previous step, in this step I transformed the stream proximity value using the suitability scale. The maps show the reclassified stream in northeast Vermont. Bobcats tend not only to prefer steep terrain, but also, as you see, the access to water. Certain criteria are most important than others while we are talking for suitability analysis. For the bobcat, land use is the most important and therefore will be weighted the heaviest. The submodel of habitats result consider all the layers and prefer high value, which mean the most ideal habitat. The higher value for the bobcat are preferred environmental factors such as steep slope, forested vegetation, and easy access to water. Also, food and security are the most important to the bobcat in this study area. Also, those have received the most highest weight. The food and security submodels were previously calculated and were combined with the habitat submodel. The final result is the bobcat's suitability model, which is shown in this map. The same as the prior maps, the most suitable habitats are green and the less suitable are red. Notice that locations that are forested in the mountains, for example, are far from humans. Those are the most preferred by the bobcat. The map shows the bobcat habitat and wildlife corridor in northeast Vermont. As you can see, the patches are located in the areas most preferred for the bobcat, so darker greens. To make sure the bobcat can move between the patches to maintain bio and genetic diversity, wildlife corridors need to be developed. So in this map, I calculated the distance from one habitat to another one, and the result shows the bobcat wildlife corridors and habitat in northeast Vermont. The layout also include the neighborhood path, which provide the least cost path between all patches, and it's the most important element in a management plan. A proper conservation plan requires consulting with experts and the various stakeholders that will be affected by the project. We should communicate with wildlife experts about site suitability criteria, weight, and other assumptions we are making. Local residents, environmental organization, and government officials all need to be included in decision making. Finally, always we have to ensure that our data is up to date and to consider making in-person visit to the site to compare our results. In the end, as conclusion, I can tell that although this model is suitable today, nature and environmental needs are always changing. 5 months or 5 years from now, this research will be transformed. So I recommend the documentation and the update of this workflow for the future site suitability assessment. Thank you for the attention. Any question?